Hello.
Welcome to So You Think You're Iconic.
Spoopy season, spoopy edition.
Spooky edition.
Yeah.
Okay, so speaking of spooky season,
Okay.
wow, I sounded like I was dying. So since it's spooky season, since October 1st, I've been watching something spooky every day. Weirdly enough, not Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I took a break
Wow.
because season 5 is like one of my least favorites. And so
Oh.
going through it very slowly.
I mean, you could just avoid it altogether and
I
just watch the
could.
good ones.
It's not like I haven't watched this show in its entirety like 3 times already.
Right. Right. Like if you wanted to, just like go on Wikipedia. Oh yeah, that's yeah.
Yeah,
And then pick the good ones if you really
no,
want
I
to.
completely remember everything that happens in this season. It's my least
Wow.
favorite.
I
um,
mean,
yeah, but since it's spooky season, let's give penance to the Queen of Halloween, Miss China Anne McClain.
go off.
I was literally just listening to one of her songs.
Calling all the monsters.
She is the Mariah Carey of Halloween. Don't you dare forget it.
All I want for Christmas for you, she's that for Halloween.
Yeah, that's what Calling All the Monsters is for Halloween. It's all I want for Christmas. It's you. Oh, and I have a surprise for you, Kelly.
Ooh, okay.
Okay. I made a TikTok account.
Oh my gosh, no way.
I don't use it, and I'm not going to post anything ever. I literally only made it so that when you send me TikToks, I can actually watch them.
I mean, that's literally how I got into TikTok. So it's a very dangerous rabbit hole.
Like, I don't open the app. I only opened it when I made the account so that I could watch that TikTok you sent me.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm honored that you downloaded TikTok for me.
But like, remember, I'm the person who wasn't going to make an Instagram. My Instagram was made for me.
Yep, yep, yep.
And I post like once a year. So
Maybe.
Twitter, though. Twitter is my thing.
Twitter. That
So
is your
how was your week?
It was pretty good. I actually went out into the world. Other than to a grocery shop, I went to the outlets in Livermore.
Oh, I was just there yesterday.
Were you really?
Mm-hmm.
And I said I wouldn't spend any money when I got there, and I spent some money. So.
How was it when you went? It was completely crowded when I went. Luckily,
It was,
everyone was wearing their masks.
yeah, it was kind of crowded, only in like certain sections,
Mm-hmm.
but like it was pretty empty when I went.
Oh, did you go during the week or something?
Yeah, I went on a Tuesday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I went Tuesday in the afternoon.
Surprised they were even open.
Yeah, I know. And like, well, like the most crowded parts were by like the really expensive.
Like the Prada store.
Yeah, and like the
There was a
Burberry.
huge line there yesterday. I was like, y'all, we're in the middle of a pandemic. How are y'all affording
Right.
Prada?
Right. Like that those were the only really crowded spots and I'm just like, well, I can't I can't even be in here. They know I'm too poor.
I will not pass the credit check.
Right. They'll just take one look at me and be like, "Oh, well, you're in a certain tax bracket."
Okay.
All right.
Tell us about this movie.
All right, y'all. This
Oh, and before we
episode.
start, I do have to say, this
Okay.
was my first time ever watching this movie.
Do you want to tell me right now how you felt about it, or do you want to save that for later?
Okay, I'll tell you now. Why not?
Okay.
um, it was okay.
It's okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Like, it was not a terrible movie,
Yeah.
but it was okay. But we'll talk more about it
Yeah.
once we get into it.
We'll get there. All right. So this week we're doing practical magic. I this is like I like this movie. This is like one of my when I'm feeling down. This is kind of like one of those nice. It's got the aesthetic. It's got the nice vibe. And so this movie opens with Aunt Frances telling the girls, Sally and Jillian, about their history. So for 200 years, the Owens women have always been blamed for everything that goes wrong in their town.
Because
And
of
it's
Aunt Maria.
yeah, and it starts with Maria, the first witch in their family. and we see her about to be hung, and the reason is not because she slept with a lot of married men.
A lot.
A lot of married men. It's because the women were and everyone else in the town were afraid of the powers that she had, and when she goes to be hung, she jumps and she breaks the rope, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, she's a witch.
Right? They don't try again.
I know, they don't like rush her or anything. They're just like, oh shit, she's a witch, let's get out of here.
There's other ways to kill. They could have stoned her, they could have drowned
Drowned
her.
her, exactly.
But
Like,
no, they chose to banish her.
right. So they banish her to some island. They never say what island at all, but she lives on this island by herself, and she's pregnant, and so she's waiting for her lover to come and get her, but he never shows up.
Never
No
shows
one
up. Just
shows
like a
up.
man.
Just right. The expectations for men are very realistic in this movie. They're very low. And so she casts a spell on herself that she would never fall in love again and feel the agony of it. And she's so bitter about it that it turns into a curse that any man that falls in love with an Owens woman, it's going to turn out bad for them.
Yeah, and I have a question about this. What if an Owens woman gives birth to a son? Does that son eventually die because of this curse? Because technically, it's a man, and it's in love with its mother and cousins and whatever. Would he die?
You know what?
Or does it only apply to men outside of the family?
It might be men outside of the family.
Or is this like a charmed situation where like they only give birth to girls?
It might be a charm because Sally has girls.
Okay. Also, who curses their own family? But whatever. Instead of cursing like the people of the town,
or like a certain bloodline.
Yeah, she curses her own family. Okay.
Right. Like, say her like lover, his name is Jeff, and she's like, I'm gonna curse Jeff's bloodline. Like, don't curse yourself.
I would love to see a 16th century Jeff. Instead of Jebediah, I'm Jeff.
Maybe it's short for something.
Jeffrey.
Okay, so then that gets into the story of how Sally and Jillian's father ended up dying.
Which brings me another question.
Okay.
Just really quick. What are the rules with this curse? Does the man die immediately? Because like their father didn't. He gave birth to 2 children before he died. Is this like some slow acting curse? Or is there like a set amount of time that you get to be happy and then it's like, nope.
I don't know, because the girls look pretty grown when
they look like 12.
Yeah.
But then what's her name? Sally. When everything happens with her children look a little younger.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Okay, whatever.
Maybe
the mythology is flawed, but okay.
We have no idea. And so her mom knows when he's about to die because she hears the chirp of a death watch beetle. And so she sends Sally and Jillian away to live with her Aunt Frances and Aunt Bridget. And they never say when the mom dies, but the mom dies.
Yeah.
And she dies of a broken heart. So sometime between then and wherever.
Yeah, she's gone.
She's gone.
We don't even know her name.
Yeah, we don't. We just know what she looks like. And then while Sally and Jillian are living with the aunts, they start to be bullied because like everyone knows they're different. And the kids are I don't know if that they're chanting witch, you're a bitch, or
I think it's
witch, you're a witch.
I think it's the second one.
Okay.
I would like to hope it's the second one.
Okay. Because I heard both and I was just like,
Okay.
All right. During that time, we also find out that Aunt Frances had had a man and he is also dead.
Hmm.
But Aunt Bridget keeps saying that it was an accident that he died. So
Technically, everyone who died of an
an
accident.
accident. So I don't know. But there's one night where the girls are practicing their magic, and a woman comes to their house, and she wants a spell to put on a man that she's in love with.
I felt so sorry for this woman,
I know.
wasting her good, hard-earned cash and a spell on a married man.
Yeah, and he's married, and she's like obsessed with him too.
She is bawling.
Yeah,
She is so heartbroken, and I'm like, girl, come on.
right. Like drink a little bit, maybe sleep in
Like this man
some
can't
bad
be.
food.
Yeah, this man can't be that great.
Right. He didn't even look that great. They had a photo.
Which I will get into great men once we get later into the story because I have some statements to make.
And so Jillian and Sally are watching this whole thing, and Sally wishes that she will never fall in love. And Jillian says she can't wait to fall in love. Which,
Even though she knows the man will die.
I know, I know. And so later that night, Sally is summoning up a true love spell and making up a man that she knows won't exist, so she doesn't die of a broken heart. And these are the qualities that she's made up: that he would hear her call a mile away, whistle her favorite song, ride a horse backwards, flip pancakes, is marvelously kind, favorite shape is a star, it has one green eye and one blue.
That is such a made up child thing.
I know that is such a good thing, but also like most of these qualities someone could have and like learn.
I have like half of them.
Yeah, like I could flip pancakes. I don't know how to ride a horse backwards. I've never ridden a horse, but
You never ridden a horse?
I've never ridden a horse, and I'm like always sad about that.
Oh my goodness, you have to try it.
I'll do that one
Did
day.
you never go to Leone Meadows?
I didn't. Not like for summer camp or anything.
Oh, well, I never took horseback riding there,
Oh.
but still.
Um so then we flash forward to Sally and Jillian when they're grown up, and Jillian is running away with a guy, and she says she's going to marry him,
Hmm.
and she really just wants to get out of the house. She like hates it where they live.
Which she literally could have just left. I don't like no one was keeping her there.
Right, like the ants are so like chill.
They
Like,
let them eat brownies for breakfast. I'm
right,
pretty sure they wouldn't care if you wanted to move out.
right. Like you could have just been like, you know what? I just want to go somewhere else. They would have been like, hell yeah, do it.
Mhm.
They would have been so supportive. Like, come on now. And so Sally is sad that Jillian is leaving her, so they make a blood pact saying that, they'll be together forever no matter what. And then some time passes by and we see the ants and Sally out in town.
Yeah, and they tried to make Sandra Bullock look ugly. Why do they keep trying to do that in movies? Like it doesn't
Right,
work. They put
right.
they put her in baggy clothes and give her some glasses, and they're like, "Look, you're ugly now." And it's like, no, it's not how it
Right.
works.
Like that never works. Like they always try to put her like they put her hair up, they put her in glasses and like baggy clothes. And it's
Yeah,
always like she looks amazing.
right. Like,
What
are
are
you
you
kidding
doing?
me?
Right. Like you put glasses on somebody and suddenly it's ugly. Like, come on now. No. And so while they're in town, they get a letter from Jillian, and we basically learn that Jillian goes through guys like days of the week.
Good for her.
Good for her.
Good for her.
Living her best life. And Sally wants the complete opposite. She just wants a normal life.
Mhm.
And I love seeing the ants like being like interacting with the townspeople because they're like so nice, and
Yeah,
everyone's like,
everyone's so scared of them.
I know. Like they're literally just saying hi and being like, "How are you?" And they're like, "Oh my god,
Even
what
the
the
horse was afraid of them.
hell? Like what's the deal?"
I was like, what have they ever done to any of you
Right.
except for help you?
Right. Like you want a spell or you want something, you come to them and you get it. Like anyway. Um Sally sees a guy coming from a farmer's market, and they make eye contact, and like they have like a little thing going on, and the ants
This
see
scene
it.
was very weird. Because I was
It was.
super confused. Because like at first, Sally looked back and he smiled at Sally for like 2 seconds, and then she walked
Mhm.
away. And then the aunt turned around and smiled at him, and then he smiled at her. And I was like, wait, does he like the aunt? Like I was so confused. And then we later find out that she was just putting a spell on them, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that makes sense. I was like,
Yeah.
I thought he was falling for the aunt.
Forbidden love this whole time. So maybe later that day, it never says. Sally and the aunts are back at the house, and then once like this clock tower starts chiming, Sally like gets into this like trance or whatever, and goes running back to find the market guy, and she's followed by dogs.
Yep.
I don't understand that, but it's in there, so good for her. And then they share a kiss, and then the scene changes, and Sally is narrating a letter that she's sending to Jillian, and it's her third anniversary with her husband Michael.
Yay.
Yay! And she has 2 kids, and she's living the life she's dreamed. And both of her girls look exactly like her and Sally when they were younger. Like, what
Yeah.
is that? Is that also a spell kind of thing? Are they all supposed to look the same?
Who knows?
Because
But
even the ants have that kind of vibe.
yeah.
Who knows? And then Jillian is narrating her letter to Sally, and she's living her life out in the sun, lounging by the pool, and she meets this guy named Jimmy Angelo.
And he gives major Johnny Depp vibes.
Yes, major vibes. He's a total grease ball and just
hmm
creepy.
Yes, completely creepy. Don't know why she found him attractive at all.
I know. Like she could have had anybody, and she picks that guy. I'm assuming the next morning we see Sally. Oh wait, no! I missed something. We flash back to Sally, and she's waking up in the middle of the night because she hears the chirps from the Death Watch beetle, and she
hmm
tries to ignore it. Next morning, we see Sally frantically trying to find the beetle and get rid of it, and we flash between her and Michael, and Michael's on his way to work, and while he's walking, he crosses the street and doesn't like I don't know what happens, but a bunch of bikes come down the street
hmm
and they like pass him by and whatever, and it looks life threatening, but it's not. It's just a bunch of bikes. Um, but when the bikes stop, a truck appears and hits him.
Yeah, that truck driver must have been blind. Because
I know.
how did you not see Michael there? He was the only person in the middle of the street.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, just 2 seconds earlier, there were a whole bunch of bicycles in the street.
Right.
Were you driving full speed and gonna hit all the bicycles?
Right. Like, were you out to like kill every biker and then just missed and hit the next available thing?
I guess so.
Like, he didn't even honk. There wasn't even a honk.
Didn't even try to stop. Like there was
Yeah.
no like brake squeaking, nothing.
Yeah. Like, homie was just like, you know what? There's a man. I'm not gonna. Oh,
Right.
well.
Who cares?
Who cares? It's just one guy.
Let's make apple juice.
Oh, no.
uh,
Uh,
Michael was carrying
yeah, Michael
apples.
was carrying a thing of apples. So,
Uh, I mean,
um, so after that happens, Sally races to her aunt's house, saying that he died because of the curse and that she loved him so much. And she finds out that the aunts put a spell on her and Michael because they wanted her to be happy, and they didn't know that she would actually love him.
which was the point of the spell.
Which we don't know exactly what the spell was, but that was probably the point. So Sally demands that they bring her back. They bring him back, and they refuse because Michael wouldn't be himself. He'd be like something darker
He'd
and
be a
bad.
demon. Like, think Jennifer's body.
Yeah, exactly. So she just accepts it, and her kids and Sally move in with the aunts, and she's all like, you know what? No, no candy for breakfast. You know, my kids are going to do their homework. They're going to live normal lives. They will never know about magic.
Mhm.
And they're like, all right, you do you. Um, so Sally is mourning and maybe probably depressed.
She is definitely depressed because her
Yeah,
children are like, it's time to get up. We need to go to school. And she's like not moving out of bed.
yeah. And she says she's tired a lot. And
Hmm.
that's a big sign.
In the 90s, they wouldn't say that's depression, but that's depression.
Yeah, that's depression. And because she's so sad, she calls for Jillian, and she like traces the blood packed scar, and
Hmm.
Jillian feels it wherever she is with Angelove. And there are so many red flags in the scene with Angelove. I'm gonna just say that right
Hmm.
now.
Yeah, she tries to go to the bathroom. He's like, I'm coming with you. That's a red sign. That's a huge red flag.
Yeah, yeah,
And
like,
he
and
tried to play it off as a joke, but like she
right,
even knew that was weird. And so she literally drugs him,
yeah, yeah. She spikes it with something, and then we see her driving back to the aunt's house.
which that would have been an excellent movie. Jillian going around playing with magic, drugging, and robbing men. That's what I want to see.
Right, she's living everyone's dream right now. So Jillian wakes up Sally in the middle of the night, and Sally tells her everything about Michael and her kids. And then Jillian starts talking about Angelo
Hmm.
and his Dracula cowboy aesthetic. What?
Yep, I told you. Major Johnny Depp vibes. That's exactly how I would describe Johnny Depp.
Yeah. Um, so Jillian goes on to say that she's been drugging him to get some sleep, and Sally makes an excellent point of saying that is not right.
Right? That's not normal.
Yeah, like if the whole going to the bathroom by yourself wasn't a big flag,
Yes.
this is a big red flag.
When someone is telling you that something your boyfriend is doing isn't normal, it's probably not normal.
Yeah, and if you have to drug him to get sleep,
Right? Some peace of mind, that's not
come
right.
on now. So um, Jillian even goes farther and says that he could be strong enough to survive the curse,
Hmm.
which.
Mm. Okay.
So Jillian convinces Sally to get her shit together and care for her kids and for herself. And the next day, Jillian is gone. We then see Sally going to her new shop and working with two other women when her daughter stopped by, probably after school. And a bunch of kids start chanting again that they're a witch.
Hmm.
And
You literally start hitting them for
yeah,
no reason.
yeah. Like in
And
my book, if you get hit first, that is free reign to just
right?
kidnap.
She was like, no, leave them alone. I was like, no, beat that little boy up.
Right. Right. So her daughters are getting into a fight, and Sally goes out and she's all like, stop this, whatever. And her eldest daughter, Kylie, points her finger at one of the boys and says that he'd get chicken pox,
Hmm.
which is very, very nice for
Right?
what she could have done.
I would have done much worse.
Oh, yeah.
He would have
And
had
Sally,
boils on his tongue.
oh, yeah. He'd be blind or something. Come on now.
And what I think is so funny is that the people in this town wholeheartedly believe these people are witches
Yeah.
with almost no proof.
Yeah. They're literally just like, you know what? She gives off the vibe of a
Right?
witch, and
She
that's
gives
it.
she gives me witchy vibes, which honestly, that's what I want in my life. I want to give off witchy vibes.
Right. I want to be either unknown, and so like no one knows like the vibe I give off, or I want to give off a witch vibe.
Hmm.
Either way, I want to instill fear.
Yes.
So Sally gets upset with her kids and tells them not to use magic, and her kids get angry and storm off because I mean the kids are right. They
Right?
should
Like
have stood up for
I have
themselves.
magic and I can't use it. That sucks.
Right. And they were literally getting beat on.
Right? They were being abused by these other children, which do they have other friends?
I don't know.
Or do they literally just go to school every day and everyone makes fun of them?
I think that might be it.
That sucks because these little girls are so nice. Like they
I
literally don't do
know.
anything wrong.
They're so nice. Like I would get why like Jillian and Sally would have been bullied because Jillian just swings
Yes.
like on
Same.
site.
Same.
She's just an on site kind of girl. But like Sally's girls are so sweet.
Right. They do nothing wrong.
Right. And so Sally goes to the Sally's kids goes to the aunts, and like they're questioning them about their mom not using magic and just magic in general. And Sally storms in and she's all like, you better watch what you say to them, because like magic is not going to be used for them. So Sally's writing to Jillian again, and she's like, oh, I'm so empty and I want to feel love again, but I don't want to be hurt. And the moon has a ring around it, so that means something bad is about to happen. And girl, is she right.
Oh, girl.
So after she puts the letter into the mailbox, like literally the second after, she gets a phone call, and she knows it's Jillian, and she's afraid, and she's asking Sally to come get her wherever she is. And
Yeah,
so she's
we never get any locations except for Tucson, Arizona, but we will get to that later.
Yeah, we literally have no idea where we are. So, but we know that it's far because Sally says she has to get on a plane.
Mm-hmm.
And she's leaving the kids with the aunts, and they said they're going to take them to the solstice celebration and dance under the moon naked, which, you know what, I'd love to take part in one day.
A little weird for children, but okay.
A little weird for children, but you know, I don't know the witch lifestyle, so
right, to each their own.
To each their own. So Sally finds Jillian in this really seedy motel with a black eye and just drags her out. And when they're trying to leave, Jillian sees the moon, saying there's blood on the moon, and she gets freaked out and she looks for her tiger's eye. And then Sally's trying to convince her to leave it, but Jillian goes back to Angelo's car and she gets it. And that's when she's like dragged by him because he's in the car.
Was he just sitting in there the entire time? I'm confused on that.
Was he just chilling in the car?
And also when this happened, I was like, how dare you put your hands on Nicole Kidman? She is an American treasure on loan from Australia. How dare you?
Like, please, sir, do not.
Do not. Johnny Depp, please, step to the side.
Right. Please. So Sally goes after Jillian, and she sees that Jillian's in the back of the car with Angela with like a knife at her neck.
Right. I have no idea what it was. I'm guessing
I just know that something was at her neck.
We'll just use context clues and say it's a knife.
Mm-hmm. So Angela tells Sally that she's gonna drive somewhere. And so while they're driving, Angela's being his weird Dracula cowboy self.
So weird. Oh my God. He starts ranting about God knows what.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I'm going to brand you. And I was like, what?
Right. So
what kind of Nexus cult stuff is this?
Right. So Jillian like communicates with Sally through the rearview mirror and is like, there's the belladonna in my bag. Just like put it in the drink and we'll figure it out from there. And so when Angela goes to brand Jillian with his freaking ring, Sally like swerves the car and tries to fight him off and takes the drink from him. Takes a swig herself because Lord, she needs it. And then she spikes it with the belladonna and she just pours the whole thing in there. Which I don't know how much belladonna it takes to knock somebody out, but it looks like a lot. So they stop the car so Angela can take a piss, and the girls are freaking out because he should have passed out by now, and he clearly hasn't. So he gets back to the car.
Maybe it's like a drug, and you like build an immunity to it after a while. Because she seemingly has been drugging him with this every night.
Yeah, for God knows how long. And so Angela gets back to the car. He's singing "Always on My Mind" like continuously. And then, for no reason, Angela starts choking Jillian after she tries to reason with him.
For absolutely no reason. She was like, can you just calm down? And then he just went straight for her throat. I was so confused.
Right. She's just like, you know what? I'll do whatever. We'll get married. We'll move somewhere, whatever. Yeah. And he's just like, nope. I'm going to choke you out.
But we later find out why. But in the moment, I was very confused.
So Sally and Jillian try to fight him off until he passes out, and he passes out real good to death. So they freak out and they try to resuscitate him and they fail, and they both freak out saying they don't want to go to jail, and Sally has kids and whatever. But Sally finally is just like, you know what, we're just going to go to the police and we're going to say it's self-defense, which is very valid,
Which
by the
is
way.
true. Like, they'll see the bruises on her face and
Right,
on her throat and be like, you're right.
right. And we later find out that he's done this before. So
Yes. Or they could have just left him there.
they really could have.
Like, who would have been, like, he didn't have any marks or anything on him.
Mm-mm,
He wasn't stabbed. He wasn't shot. He wasn't suffocated.
mm-mm.
They'll just be like, wow, he has this herb in his system.
Right. Like he OD'd on something. Oh
Yeah,
no.
they were not thinking clearly at
They
all.
were not.
Especially when we get to a different part. I'm going to talk about it.
Oh. So Jillian is like, no, that's not gonna work. We'll just go to the aunts and like we'll convince them to bring Angela back to life. Because at this point she doesn't care. She just needs him alive.
Yeah.
So they end up back at the aunt's house, which is confusing because Sally took a plane out to wherever Jillian was.
Right? And then they seemingly drove back in the same night.
Yeah, in the same night. So I don't.
Whatever. Continuity is not a real thing.
Yeah. So they end up at the aunt's house and they use a spell to bring Angela back. They have to like insert needles into his eyes and they use whipped cream to
That was
draw a star on him.
she literally ate whipped cream off of his dead body.
You know, I guess if you're doing witchcraft and stuff like that, maybe you're used to it.
Yeah, I guess. And why did they want to bring this man back to life?
Honestly, though.
He was already obviously evil, and now you're going to bring a demon in a human suit back to life. I truly don't understand. I want to take them 20 years to the future so that they can watch Jennifer's body and see exactly how bad of an idea this is.
So while they're doing the spell and they're chanting, he wakes up before they can stab him in the eye and immediately goes to choking Jillian again.
Like, literally, he takes his first breath and immediately goes for her neck.
Right. Like, what is up with this man? So Sally goes and grabs a frying pan and just basically hits him multiple times in the head.
Until he dies.
Effectively killing him again.
And now they can actually get arrested for murder.
Yeah, and now they can get arrested for murder.
They should have just left him in that car and none of this would happen.
And so they bury his body in the yard,
which guys, this is where I was coming for. If you do murder someone, like, don't. But like, if you do, you do not murder the body on your own property.
Right. That's
like,
literally what I wrote down.
Use some common sense.
Right. You're literally by the ocean.
Right. You could have
thrown him in the ocean.
Throw him in the ocean.
Or burn or cremate him. Scatter the ashes in the ocean.
Something. Literally anything.
Like, literally, you guys are in your own hometown where they already think you're witches. You could be burning something in the yard and they'd be like, oh, just another Wednesday night.
Exactly. Because there is a scene towards the end of the movie where they're literally just burning something for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
So, and whatever. Back into the movie.
And they do like a really poor job of like putting grass back on. Like, it's grass. It's not going to look the same when you dig it up and put it back.
Yeah. They're like, it'll be fine. And somehow the next day, the grass just grew back.
Yeah, it looks fine. So, Sally and Jillian vowed to not tell the aunts, even though they already know that something is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And so the aunts and Sally's kids return, and Jillian meets them for the first time, which I think is kind of weird.
I don't think it was the first time, because she said, you got so big.
Yeah, I know, but it feels like she hasn't seen them in years.
Yeah, probably.
Isn't that kind of weird?
Yeah.
And Kylie, the eldest daughter, immediately notices that there's something in the yard.
Which, honestly, me as a child, I was very intuitive. I would have been like, something feels off. Right.
Like, she just immediately steps in the house, she looks back, and she's like, there's something in the yard.
Yeah, she's like, nope, not going over there. There's
something in the vibe. There's something, the aura's off.
She taps her sisters, like, don't go near that bush. Yeah. Don't do it.
We're not playing outside in that part of the yard anymore. And like, if a child is able to see something's wrong, then
Which, by the way, I have a little nitpick. Uh,
mhm.
so they have these kids just running around in the backyard, pretty much no one ever watching them.
Oh yeah.
They live on a cliff
Oh yeah. By the water.
by the water, and at one point they let the girls just run down the cliff. How many of their
I,
ancestors have died as children? Because they
I mean,
either
we already know that the ants like raising style is not great.
they don't care at all.
They don't care, but Sally is like the sensible one.
Yeah, and
Where is she?
she lets her children run with no shoes on down the side of a cliff.
Right, up to water and then chuck something into the water. Like, come
Yeah,
on now.
but don't
Anyways,
litter.
don't. Um, so I don't know how much time has passed, but Jillian starts working at Sally's shop and or works in quote in,
Yeah.
air quotes. And Sally leaves for a PTA meeting and she's like kind of upset.
Mm-hmm.
And the other workers at the shop explain to Jillian that it's phone tree day, where they pick the most responsible moms to pass on news to the other like class moms or whatever.
Yeah, and all those moms look like 20 years older than Sally.
Oh, I know. They look like they're like in their late 30s edging on 40.
Exactly. And then Sally looks like she's mid to late 20s.
Yeah. Like
It's very confusing.
it is. It is. Like I don't know if it's like a white people thing that they like age a lot faster.
And also, if Sally knew she wasn't going to be on the phone tree, why
Then
did
why did
she
she
go?
go? Maybe it's her whole living normal thing.
Okay.
Okay. So Sally's in the classroom with the other moms, and Jillian comes strolling in with all her charm,
And,
making all the
and,
other moms
mhm,
uncomfortable.
and threatens to sleep with their husbands.
Which, I love that.
Yeah, keep them on their toes.
Right. So the whole time they're there, both Sally and Jillian like antagonize the moms. Like I don't know what Jillian does to one of the moms, but like
She straight up slaps one of them.
yeah, like one of the moms goes to make a comment about either of them, and Jillian just like straight up slaps her like with a spell or something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I love that. And like both of them play it off that like they didn't do it, but they all know.
They probably both did it. That's why it was so loud and so hard.
Yeah. And then they get to the part where they pick the mom for the top of the phone tree, and Jillian pulls some kind of spell to make Sally the top mom of the phone tree.
Mm-hmm. Which seems like the worst job.
Yeah, like who would want to do that? Like,
I've never understood conventional mothers, how they like
yeah,
love to do all of this stuff. I don't get it.
yeah. Like I understand loving your kids and being part of your kids' lives, but I feel
This is
like being in a PTA and doing all that's like
it's a little bit too
that's a you
much.
thing.
Yeah.
It's not your kids' thing anymore. That's a you thing.
That's you
These are
getting
people
some
who
sort
need
of
to know.
control. Yeah.
Yes. um so we flash back to the aunt's house, and in the yard where Angela was buried, things start like growing and like
Mm-hmm.
frogs start coming and whatever, and it looks very menacing. And then we see the ants in the kitchen making something with a blender.
Mm-hmm. I
Jillian goes,
immediately knew what it was.
yeah.
Immediately. I was like, oh, I
Jillian,
see y'all.
yeah. Jillian goes and wakes up Sally for midnight margaritas.
Which needs to happen in my life immediately.
Honestly, I love this scene so much.
Is
Like,
it a
it's so
nightly
good.
thing or a weekly thing? Either way, I'm up
Either
for it.
way. So the aunts and Sal and Jillian dance around the kitchen and drink to their heart's content, which, you know, we love
Same.
it. And they end up at the table taking shots, reading each other's palms and spilling tea.
Literally, they were roasting each other so hard, and it was so funny.
I know. They were calling each other names and saying they'd end up like old hags, like the ants, and like if that's not something I want to be a part of, that I want that.
Exactly.
So things start winding down, and the the ants start singing Always on My Mind, like Angela was doing. And the vibe gets really weird.
It changes on a dime.
Right then and there. And Sally and Jillian are freaked out and they're like, where did this alcohol come from? And they're like, it was just sitting on the porch.
Which
Which
don't drink that, people.
don't. If alcohol shows up on your porch and no one knows where it comes from and no one tells you that they've dropped that off, don't drink it.
Right, don't drink that.
Like, I get that it's alcohol, but don't.
Just send me a message on Twitter. I'll Venmo you $5 so you can get your own.
Right.
Don't do that.
Right. So the ants get suspicious and upset, like when they start acting suspicious and they're demanding answers, which they don't get.
No.
And the ants are like, you know what? We're just gonna leave them.
Right.
Let
Okay,
them
bye.
deal with their own mess.
Yeah, they're like deuces.
Right. They're literally like, we're gonna put a protective charm on the kids and we're out. So the next day, Kylie again makes some remark about a man in the yard under the roses. And Sally and Jillian are freaked out and they're like, you know what, let's just tell the ants. And her kids are like, what do you mean they're gone?
Right, they left.
They left. And so they go out to investigate the roses and they see Angela's boots coming up from the ground.
Yeah.
And then it just sinks back down into the ground.
He's taunting them.
He's taunting them. And then a special investigator named Gary Hallett shows up from Tucson, Arizona, the only place that's mentioned in this movie, looking for Angela, and he wants to ask Jillian some questions. So Sally goes and finds Jillian, and they both freak out, but they work out an alibi because Sally feels like she can't lie to him.
So they tell half of the truth.
So they tell half of the truth.
Which, by the way, let's go back.
Okay.
She invites him into her house. Never invite a cop into your house. Never. Under any circumstance, unless they have a warrant, you do not let a cop inside of your house.
Just leave them out on the property.
Literally, when it happened, I just started typing furiously. I was like, you never invite a cop into your house.
I mean, come on now. Like, common sense.
Once you
I get that she was freaked out, but...
Yeah, once you let them into your house, they can start looking at stuff. Don't do that.
Like, even if you are innocent, it doesn't matter. Don't let them in your house.
Don't let them in your house, please. So
Sally and Jillian come down and they meet Gary in the kitchen. And there's this weird connection between Sally and Gary going on.
I'm sorry, but Gary is a boring man. He has no personality.
I mean, some of him is made up, though, by a spell. So
I don't care. He's boring. Would you want to sit in a house for the rest of your life with Gary as your companionship?
No.
Exactly.
No.
Gary's boring.
Gary's a nice friend.
Right. He'd be a nice friend that you see like once a year.
Yeah, you like catch up with maybe a little bit over coffee and that's it.
And then like at the hour mark, you're like, oh, look at the time.
Gotta go pick up my kids. You have kids? Yeah.
Yeah. You text me about it. I'll tell you later.
Yeah. So Jillian tells Gary that she left Angela after he hit her.
Which was true.
Because a man only hits her once, which
is not very true.
Is not very true. It's a good principle to have, but
yes,
you shouldn't be with a man that you feel the vibe that he would hit you.
Or a woman.
Yeah,
you know,
or a woman.
Let's be inclusive.
If anyone
here.
hits you, if anybody hits you and you're in a relationship with them, you get out. Okay.
Immediately. Don't go for
that's the only serious note we'll have in here.
Yes. Don't go for the whole it was a one-time thing. It's not.
Yeah. Maybe he was just angry. If he's that angry to hit you.
I've gotten very angry in my life. Not angry enough to hit some people, but not someone I was dating.
But you never acted on it, and that's the difference.
Yes. I have self-restraint. I am a good human being.
So after Gary gets Jillian's story, he moves to question Sally, and things just go downhill so fast. She just can't shut up.
right? Like, all you have to do is not talk. Like, that's it.
Yeah. He could ask you questions and you just be like, I don't know.
Right? I don't
Or
know.
she never told me. Like, you didn't, she just spits up information and Jillian is just shocked at her, which same.
She spits out information that he's not even asking for. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
She's voluntarily just giving him everything. So Gary sits them both down and shows them a picture of a girl Angela had branded and strangled to death.
Mm-hmm. He's a serial killer.
He's a serial killer. And he's
which really, really, they put it on the nose with his personality.
Yes.
Like, they didn't try to go the charming guy, seemingly normal route. They were like, no, he's weird, and you know it.
Yeah, like from the moment you meet him, you know you're playing with fire, and that's
exactly. Not just fire. You're playing with hellfire.
And you will end up burning in it.
Yes.
So Gary goes around town asking the townspeople about Sally and Jillian and the aunts, and all of their answers are just like they're a witch. Like that's it.
Yep.
Like they do weird stuff and they're witches. And so Gary actually shows up at Sally's like little shop that she has, and Sally confronts him about why he's going around asking questions, and he's just like, I'm doing my job.
Which he's
and
not. Because he's literally just asking personal questions about them. He's not like, have you seen this man anywhere?
Right.
He's a terrible investigator.
So Gary says that he has more questions and that he'd go over to their house tomorrow at 10. So that night, Jillian wakes up freaked out about Angelov. And there's a vibe that something's not going right with that. And so next morning, Jillian and the girls are making a banishing spell to get rid of Gary. And Kylie shows Jillian her mom's old journal and asks if the true love spell that's written inside is about their dad. And I don't know if Jillian ever met Michael, because she immediately just says that the spell is about their dad.
I don't think she did either.
Yeah, because she would have known that Michael had like brown eyes. Come on now.
Yeah.
But anyway, Kylie then, Jillian tells him the truth and says that it's a band that Sally made up so that she wouldn't ever fall in love. And then Kylie immediately says what Jillian says when she saw the love potion, the love spell the first time, that she can't wait to fall in love. And Jillian is just like, oh, well.
Don't.
I'm going to pump the brakes for you real quick and say don't.
She puts it in a child's analogy, though. She's like, it's like spinning, but you're not looking at something, and then you end up falling.
Yeah. It's basically you're spinning out of control. Make sure you pick a spot sometimes to check with yourself and others. So Gary shows up, and the youngest daughter, Antonia, convinces Gary to stay for breakfast. Mm-hmm. And so
this man's supposed to be working.
Yeah, he's supposed to be investigating, not having breakfast.
Not having breakfast with the suspects.
Yeah. So Sally and Gary have another conversation, and he brings up Belladonna, and then he goes on to say that he's confused about the Owens women, with them being witches and like magic, because that's out of his comfort zone and whatever, and what he needs to deal with. And so they have like this intense moment in the like greenhouse thing that's connected to the house. And Gary's like, just telling me the truth. And Sally's like, we aren't hiding Angela in this house, which is true. Mm-hmm. He's not in the house.
And that Jillian did not kill him.
And which is also true.
Yes.
And she says that they have killed him multiple times, which is also true. So Gary is confused, whatever. And so Sally finds Antonia making pancakes, and then Gary immediately volunteers to make pancakes.
Right? Like, you're a guest, sir. Please go sit down.
Yeah. Also, you're a cop that's investigating me and my sister for murder. Potentially. So Gary's making pancakes, and him and Sally are humming the same song, and he flips a pancake in the air, and Antonia is convinced that
Right.
Gary is the guy that
Because
her mom made up.
no one else can flip a pancake.
Yeah, and no one can overhear what Sally's humming and then hum it
Yeah.
too. So Kylie and Antonia are convinced that Gary's their their mom's like soulmate.
Mm-hmm.
And so when Jillian comes in with the banishing spell in the syrup, the girls immediately catch it, go down to the water, and throw it away.
Yeah, and then everyone acts like nothing weird just happened.
Yeah, like it
They
was
they
normal.
they just laugh it off. They're like,
Yeah,
oh, I guess they didn't want that. It's like,
right.
no, that's weird.
Yeah, they're like kids are gonna do kid things, and it's like, maybe not. And then immediately there's like a frog off to the side, and he's croaking, and the adults go to investigate, and it coughs up Angelove's ring. And Gary is immediately suspect of them again. He's like, you better get your shit together. Get a
It's
lawyer.
like get your story straight.
Right. Get your story straight. And then immediately the sisters have an argument, and it pushes Sally to be like, I'm just going to tell Gary the truth. And so she chases him into town and begins to tell him the truth. And they end up at his hotel where he goes to take her testimony. And she says that Angela was haunting them and that Jillian did not kill him. And then Sally questions Gary about him reading her letter.
Mm-hmm.
And then Sally gets upset and she's like, you know what? Angela was a bad guy and we punished him. And that's that. And Gary's trying to argue like, it's the law. It doesn't matter what you did. He still needs to like go through proper whatever. And then they like get so intense that they kiss.
Yeah,
And
it's very sudden.
it's very sudden.
I was thrown for a loop. I was like, I thought it would be like a cute little kiss. No, like it was a
No.
jump on the bed kiss. I was
Yeah.
like, whoa, what's happening here?
Yeah. So like they're making out, and then Sally finally like looks Gary in the face. Like actually looks at him. And she sees that he has one blue eye and one green.
Y'all, his green eye changed back and forth like a Lisa Frank reflective binder.
Yeah, it did.
It looked so bad. Like it was like his eyes are blue. This man's
his eyes
eyes are blue, and then all of a sudden it was like a little shimmer, and his eye turned green, and then it just went straight back to blue.
Like why they couldn't convince the actor to wear one green contact.
One green contact.
I don't know.
And the thing is, it never stays green. Like his eyes are blue for the rest of the movie.
The whole movie, it's blue until that one moment where one of them low key turns green, and then it's blue. But anyway, Sally gets freaked out by that and just leaves. And while she's contemplating and doing her own thing, Sally hears her daughters and Jillian calling for her. So she races back to the house and sees that Jillian is being possessed by Angela.
Mm-hmm.
And Gary shows up, guns blazing.
Yeah.
And sees it happen.
He literally broke into their house.
Yeah. And I don't know how they showed up at the same time, but
I don't either.
Because it looked like hours had passed since they'd met each other. So anyway, Angela talks to Gary and then eventually attacks him and gets burned by his badge.
Which wasn't on, which was very weird to me. I was so confused. And then he showed him his badge, and then he just like ran away.
Yeah. He took one look at the bag, like hissed, and then like evaporated.
Yeah.
And so Jillian is a wreck from that. And Gary even has more questions about what's going on. And so Sally's all like, you know what, I'll tell you exactly what happened. I'll tell you how I killed him. I'll tell you where the body is. And
which the black man in me was like, shut up.
Yeah,
shut
right. Don't say another word. But Gary is just stuck on the whole seeing Angela's spirit And so he's like, this is
Mm-hmm.
out of my field. I only deal with the law, not with magic or whatever is going on here.
He doesn't
And,
even deal with the law well, so
yeah.
please leave.
Find another profession. So he confesses that he actually has read Sally's letter 1,000 times, and that's the real reason why he had shown up on the island,
Mm-hmm.
whatever island that is. And he was called there by her letter. And so she eventually just tells him that the reason why that he was called was because she made up a true love spell when she was a kid with qualities in a man that she knew would never exist. Questionable.
Very questionable.
and says that what they're both feeling is basically her spell. And even if it wasn't, they don't know if it's real because maybe she's using him to not go to jail, which is a good tactic, by the way.
Yeah, flirt with the investigator.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that
Convince him that you're innocent.
even though you literally told him
Yeah.
what you did.
So Sally goes back into the house and Scary leaves, and Jillian is possessed again, and she just knocks her out. Just like
not
goes,
not not before she has her face licked, which
oh yeah,
was very uncomfortable for me to
yeah,
watch.
didn't like it at all.
I'm sure Sandra Bullock didn't like having to film it.
So immediately after Sally knocks Jillian out, the ants like show up, and they're like, "Well, we knew something was wrong, but we didn't know it was this
We
wrong."
didn't know it was this wrong.
So the ants say that they have to banish him, and that they need a coven of 9 to 12 people. And so
They
Sally
call
goes
the
and activates the
PTA
poetry.
mom.
Yay! And basically just says that she's a witch
Oh
and
my
that she
gosh,
needs their help.
I wrote a terrible joke for
Okay.
this. I put not her getting the PTA moms for help. What is she trying to get rid of? A demon or a waiter? uh,
We need to banish a demon, not summon a manager, okay?
please keep listening to us.
I swear we're really funny in real life, please.
We are.
um, so, and I love that part where one of Sally's workers is just like, oh my gosh, Sally just came out. And the other girl's
Yeah.
like, that is so validating. Oh, okay. So while that's happening and she's calling all the PTA moms, the aunts and her little girls are like setting up the house with candles and whatever. And then Sally finally does magic in front of her little girls and like blows a candle to life.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh my gosh, she does magic. And then the women arrive and they're all so excited to be there.
So excited. For
They're
people
so
who hate
excited.
these people,
I know.
they're like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to do this.
I know. Like, they've hated them for years. And then suddenly they're like, yeah, we'll help you. You're getting rid of, but you know what? That is that, like, I love how the only thing that's connecting them is Sally being like, yeah, we need to get rid of an abusive man from this woman's life. And they're like,
Right? They're
you know
like,
what?
I'm
I'm
coming.
there.
You want me
Which,
to
you know
bring a
what?
broom? I don't care.
Right.
Let's go.
Solidarity, sister. And like all these women show up and they're telling stories about how they have like a little bit like sixth sense and whatever,
Mm-hmm.
which
I do too.
Yeah, you do actually.
I do.
And then once they get everything and all the women there, the ants lead them into where Jillian is, and it gets a little real for them when they see her just sprawled out
Mm-hmm.
on the floor, and they like realize that they're about to perform an exorcism. So
Fine.
they
Fun Saturday night.
right, girls' night. So they form a circle with their brooms and start to chant, and like Jillian is really going through it. She's like writhing on the floor, banging herself around. And then Sally just breaks and is like, "You're gonna kill her if you continue." So they break the circle, and she's all like, she goes down to Jillian's level, and she's like, "You have to fight him." And Jillian just like, let him take me. Just I don't want to deal with it. Just let him take me. And Sally's
She's tired. I
yeah,
get
she's
it.
tired. Let her go. But Sally's like, you know what? I'm not giving up. We're gonna try one more thing. So she breaks the circle and brings out a bottle of tequila and like lures Angela out with some tequila.
Mm-hmm.
And when Angela goes to like attack Sally. They pin Jillian down. Sally cuts herself where she did the blood pact with Jillian, and she cuts Jillian's hand as well. And when they clasp hands, magic happens. Some sort of magic happens. And they push them back into the circle. And I don't know what pushed Angelov out, but Angelov eventually gets pushed out of Jillian. I don't know if it's their sisterly love or whatever.
Sure.
But he gets pushed out. And like the women see him, and then he like falls down to the floor in like
into
some
ashes.
Into ash or dust, something like that. And the women have to brush him out of the house, and then they eventually pour the potion they've been concocting on him, and he's effectively banished.
He's still buried in their yard, though.
The body is still in the yard.
There is still a body buried in their yard.
Yeah. And then the next day, or maybe sometime later, Sally is out in the yard burning something. She gets a letter from Arizona. And her and Jillian read it, saying that the investigation for Angelov has ended, saying that his death was accidental. They're I don't know what the feeling is at that point. Like they're relieved or whatever. But like Sally's like, what do I do about Gary? And Jillian's like, what wouldn't I do? And then Sally like gets a leaf and puts a spell on it or whatever. Sure. That like calls Gary to her.
And then he's there literally immediately.
Yeah, and then he's there either like the next day, or he pops up in the forest and like walks to her immediately. I don't know. So they end up together, and then we flash to Halloween where Sally, the aunts, and Jillian are about to fly off the roof. And Sally says that the curse was broken.
Oh, she did?
Yeah.
Oh, thank goodness, because that was my last question.
Yeah, no.
I was like, so is he gonna die? Because I was like, there's still this curse.
Yeah. So during her little like narrative thing about like her accepting her witchy self, it says that when her and Jillian clasped hands, they had broken Maria's spell somehow.
Okay.
And that
how do you know that?
It wasn't explained.
Okay.
But either way, she gets her happily ever after with Gary, and I'm assuming Jillian does
good for her.
Somehow.
She can go and live her boring life.
With Gary. And that's the movie.
Yay.
So, iconic or not?
I'm going to make you mad. I'm going to say no.
Okay. That's fine.
It's kind of boring. The first, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, nothing happens.
Yeah, it is a little slow.
And this movie would, by far, not pass the Bechdel test.
Oh, yeah.
They are constantly talking about men. That's all they ever talk about is men. I'm like, you guys have magic. Please talk about something else.
And I mean, it's part of my movie facts, but Rotten Tomatoes agrees with you that it's not that great of a movie.
Yeah. But, it wasn't bad.
Yeah.
I'd watch it again. It wasn't bad.
Yeah. I personally think it's iconic. I just like how it's like a woman's witchy movie, you know? And it's not like the Harry Potter, we're going to do all these weird spells and dragons and everything. It's literally just everyday witches, you know?
Yeah.
And I really like having that perspective, and they're not scary or anything. It's just them living their lives and vibing.
Yeah, they're just regular people who have magic.
Yeah, and I love that. So I'm gonna hit you with some movie facts.
Oh, I'm so ready.
So on Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 22% rating, but
that's a little too low.
Yeah, it is a little low.
I'd give it a high 40s.
Yeah, 22% is the Cats range.
Yeah, it's
way better than Cats.
Yeah.
It deserved a 50, at least 50.
Yeah.
But Vulture magazine interviewed a coven of women, and they said they loved the movie. They appreciated how it was women focused, and how the men were like more side characters, you know, like the women dealt with their own problems, and that they said that the detail that they put into like the potions, the spells, and like the book, the
Yeah.
spell book was like really accurate.
Okay.
So I'm like, good for them. I'm glad they loved it. Second movie fact, which might be my favorite. A real witch was consulted on the movie because the director loved the book, but he just didn't know anything about witchcraft.
Oh, there's
So
a book.
Yeah, there is a book. Yeah, it's based off a book.
Oh, okay.
So he contracts this witch, and after she helps them, the witch later threatens to curse the film director and the movie.
What would happen?
So the director, when he consulted with the witch, he's all like, you know what, we're gonna pay you, right, for this, all the consulting that you do and whatever. And she didn't want just that money. She thought she deserved extra money just because, and it's part of the movie's profit.
Girl, who do you think you are?
Right. So when they refused, she cursed the film director, the movie, and one of the actors. And she was still pissed that later
I bet it was Sandra Bullock.
She later called the director and left a voicemail with more curses and speaking in tongues. So the director held his own sort of exorcism to get rid of the curse, just in case. He's like, I don't believe in it, but I'm just gonna hold one just in case.
Oh my gosh, I love this story.
But it gets better.
Oh my gosh, please keep going.
So she felt so entitled that she sued Warner Brothers themselves.
For what?
It doesn't say, but when the legal team heard that she had cursed the film director twice, the movie, and one of its actors, and that she spoke in tongues, they just paid her off. They were so scared, they just paid her off.
I know how I'm getting my first million. Anybody working in witchery,
right,
whatever, want to teach me their ways?
Right. Anyone part of Wicca that wants to contact Jordan and get some tips?
I am a very good student. I will take notes.
We're fast learners, you know. We've got you covered.
I'm already kind of I have a very strong intuition.
He does. I can vouch for that.
Mm-hmm.
And our last movie fact is the Midnight Margarita scene.
Mm-hmm.
Sandra Bullock and the other actresses were actually drinking.
Good for them.
They drank before the scene and during the scene. So
yes.
So apparently Nicole Kidman had brought like a bad bottle of tequila to set like prior. Mm-hmm. And so they're just like, you know what, fuck it, we're just gonna drink. So them and some of the like people who were working camera, they like all of them were drinking.
Oh, not the camera people. That could have ended very badly.
Yeah. So I think some of them drank, not like the main camera workers, mm-hmm. or like that would have been bad, but like they drank before and during the midnight, like the dancing and everything, and then the table scene, like that was full on drinking.
Me if I had drinking scenes in movies.
None of that faking it's alcohol stuff.
No,
we're drinking the real thing.
Yep. I'm not putting food dye in my water. We're gonna drink some real tequila.
You're not gonna put black tea in front of me. Come on now.
Yeah.
This is gonna be real. And that's all my movie facts.
Yay. So what are your recommendations for this week?
Okay, so I don't know if you know that this happened, but Mariah Carey released a new album.
I do know that.
Okay, so for those of you who don't know, Mariah Carey released a new album. It's called The Rarities. And go listen to it because it's got some unreleased songs from like her heyday. Mm. And so
Chef's
good.
kiss.
Ooh, so good. And they have some live stuff on there. So
they do.
Check it out.
Check it out.
Do it.
I have several.
Well, no, I always have. I feel like next week I should just come back with multiple.
I have several. I
Okay.
have a lot to say this week.
All right.
Yeah. Lock and Key. Get into it. It's still not trending on Netflix. You guys are hurting me.
We're breaking our hearts out here.
But yeah. Also, I want to recommend American Dad. I feel like it doesn't get any love, and it's much funnier than Family Guy.
Yeah.
Please watch American Dad. It's so good. And then my last recommendation is Blackpink's new album. The
Yeah.
album. It's very good. My favorites on the album are How You Like That, Pretty Savage, and Lovesick Girls.
Yes.
Listen to it. It's very good. A lot of it's in English, which I was shocked.
Yeah.
So that's it for this week.
Yay. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Don't forget to follow us on our social media, on our Twitter and Instagram at SYTYI Podcast. And send us your movie stories.
Yeah. And recommendations.
At our email at sytyipodcast@gmail.com. I want to hear about the Wiccan tribe that came into your movie theater and cursed the theater owner, because their popcorn cost $10 million.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And if you could just make every movie theater lower their prices on snacks. Thanks very much.
Mm-hmm. I think like yesterday, an entire movie theater chain closed.
I mean, a lot have closed during this pandemic, so.
What was it? I think it was Regal. I think Regal
No
is gone now.
way! Oh my god.
Whatever. They were way too expensive anyway. So
I mean, you're right.
Cinemark for life. And don't forget to share us with your friends and family. Rate and review us on Apple Podcasts.
Yeah.
And don't forget to wear your mask, people.
Yes. Practice safe social distancing.
Wash your hands.
And also, hello to our Singapore listeners.
Hi.
Hello, how are you? We see you. You're valid.
So next week.
Oh my gosh, recommend us a movie from your country.
Mm-hmm. Please do. I like other countries.
We love international movies.
Train to Busan is so good.
Ooh, so good.
That little girl can act so well.
Bro.
I was shook. I was like, wow, why am I sitting here crying? Well, we'll see you next week when it's my movie pick.
Yeah. More spooky to come, y'all.
More spookiness.
Enjoy fall.
And stay iconic.
Stay iconic.
Bye.
Bye.